Before I ask you about Joe Biden and his promise to bring us together, I want to play you the definition of racism that was offered by Ibram Kendi. I know you know who he is. He's at some sort of forum, Alex. He's kicking back up on the stage with Jamil Hill, the one who got fired from ESPN for calling Donald Trump a white supremacist. Anyway, the two of them are sitting there, and the audience appears to be a bunch of woke young white people who are hanging on every word he says. And then they have the Q&A part, Alex, and this white guy very respectfully asks him very softly and very carefully what the definition of racism is. I mean, you might have given me the definition already, and maybe I didn't hear it or I didn't listen. I just don't know. Can you please give me the definition of racism, Alex? And this is what happened. I want to get your reaction to it on the other side.
You talked about the importance of defining racism, but unless I missed it, which is possible, I didn't hear your personal definition. Is there one that you would offer us? Like, how do you define racism?
Sure. So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. Sure. A collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. And anti-racism is pretty simple, using the same terms. Anti-racism is a collection of anti-racist policies leading to racial, anybody want to take a guess? Equity that are substantiated by anti-racist ideas.
Alex Marlow, editor-in-chief of Breitbart, what the hell did he just say?
He said racism is racism, as far as I know. That's what it is, and he's creating most of the words. It's all gobbledygook, Larry, and it's interesting that he finally starts squeezing out something and has to do with achieving equity, which we now know equity is basically just Marxism, isn't it? I mean, isn't that just what it is? And they're just trying to launder Marxism in by shaming white liberals of privilege into going along with it because they'll be perceived as a racist if they don't. This to me just strikes me as neo-racism, isn't it? It's just this is racist. What we're hearing here is just by another name.
And Alex, notice when he said racism is racist policies that lead to racist results based upon racist thoughts. And there was laughter in the room, and I think the laughter, Alex, is because people thought he was joking. And then he repeated it almost verbatim, and that's when people realized he's not joking. This is his definition. I mean, when you're in grade school, you ask your teacher to define a word, and she uses the word to define the word itself. It's a joke. And the thing is, Alex, nobody said anything because they would be perceived to be racist, and you're probably the guy in the audience going, huh? And you don't want to raise your hand and say, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that, because that makes you the racist. That makes you the only fool who wasn't woke enough to understand this crazy definition. It was bizarre.
Exactly, and I think that's how they keep us silent, is because we're confused, and they portray it as the confusion is because we're rubes, we're not sophisticated enough, we're not scholarly enough to understand what he's talking about, when the reality is no one understands what he's talking about. I don't even think he understands what he's talking about. And by the way, this concept of equity, which is really Marxism, these guys are getting paid $20,000, maybe $40,000 to give some of these speeches. They're getting paid, I mean, hand over fist to get feted by white liberals who are paying too much to go to college. It's an amazing thing that they've created this industry and they're cornering a market on it.
And Alex, how does somebody get wealthy in America denouncing America as systemically racist? How does that happen? How is it Jesse Jackson is a multimillionaire? Louis Farrakhan's a multimillionaire. How do you get $5 million light in taxes as Al Sharpton did unless you make a boatload of money? How do you do that by arguing that America is intrinsically systemically racist and then you end up becoming a multimillionaire like Patrisse Cullors, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter? How does that happen, Alex, in a systemically racist country?
Larry, I worked for you. I have a record of promoting women and minorities and black people and Latinx, I think is the proper pronunciation these days. And you know where that gets me? Well, I get to sleep well at night. But if I just went right now and started to announce everyone on the right is racist, the Breitbart guy turns on Breitbart, says everyone's racist, I'd be a millionaire really quick. I mean, it's a great business model for these people.
We only have a minute left. Talk to us about Joe Biden's promise to bring us together.
Yeah, I have a whole chapter on this because Joe talked about how it was a time for healing, and he's really the most divisive or divisive, because sometimes Obama pronounced it divisive. Divisive or divisive president we've had.
Depends on whether or not he's at a black church.
I know he knows this. Exactly. He changes it depending on his mood,
Right.
and I think he's trying to troll us, but I see what he's doing. No, but Joe Biden's policies have been very divisive. He's governed as a left-wing ideologue. He's governed as a Democrat ideologue. He is someone who, as recently as 2017, was referring to black children as roaches. It's in the Corn Pop video.
Right.
People look it up. He is an incredibly disrespectful man with a really bad history of racism, and now he's going to be the one who's going to heal us from our racial divide. It'll never happen. We all know it's not going to happen. And his idea of unity, Larry, is, of course, agree with Joe Biden on everything, agree with the Democrat left on everything. He hasn't compromised with Republicans or conservatives on a single issue, and look for this throughout the rest of his presidency. He's not going to change.
The book is called Breaking the News. It's up on LarryElder.com, Exposing the Establishment Media's Hidden Deals and Secret Corruption, by my guest, Alex Marlow. Alex, thank you so much. It is a wonderful, wonderful book, thoroughly researched, and I recommend it strongly to everybody.
Larry, you're the absolute best, and I can't thank you enough for your role in my life.
You got it. Thank you so much, Alex.